All right, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers getting a victory against his former team in the revenge game. He said after the game he was happy to beat everyone associated with the Jets organization. The stat line is incredible for Aaron Rodgers. The tape is good for Aaron Rodgers, not quite what the stats would show. We'll talk about all of it, the good and the bad in this game, where to improve upon, all that good stuff. But yeah, let's start off with the good. And these are some real plays that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to bring to the table in a positive way this season. So like the play you see on your screen, it's a zone coverage concept. You have the receiver closest towards the bottom of the screen running a route that could hopefully get the corner out of position. And when this play begins, that's going to be exactly what happens. Corner stays deep. You now have another receiver that nobody has picked up. There is a little bit of pressure from behind, and honestly even about to hit him towards his left side, hit Rodgers towards his left side. So has to throw this one a bit off balance, but there is a window. And as you see, while off balance, makes a nice accurate throw. They're able to pick up a huge completion there. I mean, a ton of yards. Again, that's more open than you would like if you're a Jets fan. Not the best defense, because it's not the craziest concept in the world. But honestly, this is a lot of what we saw. We saw good concepts, Rodgers making the right throw, getting the ball out of his hands when he has to get the ball out of his hands, and like that can win you games in the NFL. It really can. It won them this game. Now let's go over here, because honestly, this was maybe one of the most optimistic things about this performance from Aaron Rodgers. Was I felt like when he, Rodgers throughout his career has had one knock against him, which is that he won't really just throw one up and give his receivers a chance too often, unless it's Devontae Adams over his career. Like a lot of times he likes to kind of more so just, hit open guys. He likes guys who can get separation. But this play, it's going to be Calvin Austin running a one-on-one matchup towards the outside, going outside the numbers, which that's also another thing we have to talk about, is the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the year. I think DK Metcalf's underrated. I think that that's a pretty good trade to get a guy like that. But one of the questions was, who else can step up? Well, Calvin Austin's running this route. Aaron Rodgers is going to take the snap. He's going to look in Austin's direction. And you see, I mean, this is not a huge window, but this is the kind of thing that last year for the Jets, when he would try these plays, it wouldn't work, and he didn't really want to try these plays too frequently. Well, here he is going to decide to try this. And look at this beautiful throw. I mean, that is just a thing of beauty. Again, we know he can do that. And I think that, throwing guys open and having guys reward him with the catches, Mike Williams last year wasn't doing that with the New York Jets, right? So, having this kind of thing work is, again, really, it's just got to be exciting if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. It's very good stuff by him. Honestly, my biggest takeaway when watching the tape was is Arthur Smith good? Is this a good Arthur Smith situation? Because Arthur Smith has had good moments in the NFL. Obviously, the Derrick Henry Titans years were the most notable part, but I think that he's had good games, and a lot of these concepts were really working, although I'm saying it with this play, this is maybe we'll talk about it. So it's just a screen pass to DK Metcalf, right? Rodgers throws it, hits DK Metcalf. The Jets at one point are kind of all over this. So, okay, why am I praising the coaching? Well, again, on one hand, you could say they kind of have covered it up, but getting the ball in DK Metcalf's hands wasn't really something they did in Seattle. He was the go down the field and make a play type of receiver, not the let's just hit him and make something happen. And I think this is really good awareness of Arthur Smith to know what kind of talent he has on his roster. Watch as DK Metcalf's going to make a move, and this is a huge gain on this play. This gets over 30 yards on a wide receiver screen pass. I mean, that's a great play. There was a lot of this stuff, a lot of just schemed up or, throwing shallow and guys making plays type of plays. Most of the touchdowns were that. Really good stuff from Arthur Smith. Now let's get into negatives. I have a couple of concerns with the Green Bay Packers. I'm two teams off with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. So let's get into it, because again, people who didn't watch the game are going to see the box score stats and say what a performance. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. This play is Calvin Austin running a route that's going to eventually go over the middle on a 1st down and 10 against man coverage. Rodgers is going to take the snap. He's going to look in Calvin Austin's direction. Austin got slowed down a little bit. And so, okay, what do what does this look like here? Well, if you want to make this throw, you have to get it further down the field. As you see, he did not. It nearly got intercepted. We saw our first Aaron Rodgers angry. For a second, I thought he was angry at the at his receiver. I think he was actually mad at the refs for he wanted a penalty on that one. Nonetheless, though, the contact was before he threw the football, so still got to adjust on the fly. Again, it is what it is. Not the best throw, not the end of the world. Everyone's going to have one, but this one was the real, like, this could be a bit of an issue. Like, this is something I'm concerned about a little bit. I predicted the Steelers to make the playoffs, and I think I put Aaron Rodgers as my most underrated quarterback entering the 2025 season. He was not bad last year with the Jets, the way people make him out to be. Like, I think he showed, everything he showed in this game, he had also showed last season with the Jets. But anyway, you have this play. It's a one-on-one matchup on the outside with the left tackle, and this is, it's a concern. It just is. This is a concern. Watch as when this play begins. I mean, that is, Broderick Jones trying to make the block, not doing a very good job. Rodgers on, again, 2nd and 15, they're down a point, so, like, you do want to take some chances. He's going to have to throw completely off his back foot, but there is a window. If he can push this past the corner, you could maybe make this work. But Rodgers' throw isn't anywhere close, and if Brandon Stephens doesn't just, like, fall down for no reason, that's probably a pick six, and you do have to wonder, how do we view this game differently if that was a pick six, right? How did the narratives change if we would say, oh, Rodgers did well, but then he throws the pick six that wouldn't have ended the game. They were only down a point, so then they'd be down 8. But most likely would have ended the game in that situation. Like, to me, the concern is Rodgers under pressure is not what he used to be. And heading over to this play, this is another one where, like, this is something that we saw. So this is a 3rd down and 4. Rodgers is going to take the snap. He scans the field, doesn't love what he sees, right? Not a lot open. And I think that, like, this is just one of those situations where Rodgers did a really good job at running the offense. We didn't see too many of these plays, which is a good thing, I think. Like, the fact that Rodgers can run the offense and the fact that the offense was there to be ran is very good. But we did see a few instances of this. Nothing open. Right now there's not pressure. And in fact, he could try and scramble out and make something work. That Aaron Rodgers, in his prime, that's exactly what he would do. But here, Rodgers is going to try to make that work, but he just doesn't have the explosiveness anymore to make stuff like that happen. So I think that the lack of a great offensive line in this game, along with Rodgers just not being able to move so much, that is something that, like, long-term is concerning. Listen, I preseason picked the Steelers to make the playoffs. I still feel pretty good about that prediction. I think Rodgers and what he was able to do running the offense should not be overshadowed. Like, that was very good. I also think that just looking at the box score is a bit misleading. There are some negative takeaways as well. Rodgers has to protect the football better, and he's going to have to throw the ball away more than he's used to. If he can do that, I really think the Steelers have a much higher ceiling than they've had in previous years. So ultimately, still a positive game, even if I do have some negative takeaways. Of course, it's a positive game. He threw 4 touchdowns and they won the game. Of course, it's positive. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.